I trust that the eyes are open this day and they will remain open each day of your life. My scripture reading is taken from Matthew's 7th chapter, the 24th through the 27th verse. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house. And it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And thus is the scripture reading of Matthew's, the 7th chapter, 24th through the 27th verse. Again, I say to you, good morning. You know, when scripture speaks about the house, when scripture speaks about the rock, scripture is speaking, or I should say the master teacher is speaking, not about a house of the world. Remember in Jesus' teachings, Jesus said, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. And I go and prepare one for you. Remember also the sayings of Jesus when he spoke to Peter. And he asked Peter, who do people say I am? And Peter answered and said, Thy art the Messiah. And Jesus said unto Peter, upon this rock I will build my church. This rock represents our consciousness. Now, there are two ways to look at this according to the scripture. One who listened and followed the teaching of the master teacher, and those that decided to lean into their own understanding and finding or doing it their own way. And when they leaned unto their own understanding and tried to do it their own way, they were not building upon a rock. They were not building upon the spiritual consciousness within them. So, as we look out into the world from a physical point of view, and you know, we all think in terms of how we build our outer lives. Some of us say, well, we have a house built of stone, built of brick. We have a solid foundation. So we don't have to worry or be concerned about anything. But if you truly look out at the physical and material world, we are not standing on a solid rock or foundation. The floods are coming. The rains are coming. The fires are coming. The earthquakes are coming. Pandemic is coming. Everything in the outer world cannot be said that it is built on a solid foundation or a rock, because there is a constant shifting in the physical and the material world. Things are being lost, blown away, swept away. Things are being burned up, consumed. And for those that have built our lives upon the physical and material things of the world, we feel a sense of loss, because we have not built upon a solid rock. We have not built upon that consciousness, that spiritual consciousness that is within us. And we know, or should know, for those of us that have studied metaphysics to some degree, and I always say that metaphysics represents the bridge in which we have to cross from the physical into the spiritual. And so as we study metaphysics, we are going to encounter many challenges. And those challenges are for the confirmation of our faith and trust in those teachings that have been passed on to us. Those teachings and truth that we have basically devoted ourselves to. And if we have truly built upon this consciousness with faith, truth, and trust, whatever comes up against us cannot stand, will not stand, because the consciousness that is within us, the consciousness of life, is the source that is responsible for all that there is. And as Paul said, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Whatever the changes are in the world, if you have built your faith and your trust upon this solid rock of spiritual consciousness within you, nothing can stand up against you. Nothing can come against you to take away. Now, let me just back up. Let me just back up. There might be things of the outer world that will come up against you and seemingly take away from you the things that you have, in a sense, built, the things that you have acquired. But knowing your faith and your trust upon this consciousness in which you have built, or the consciousness on which you stand, that which seems to be lost or taken away can be and will be restored unto you. Nothing that the Spirit of God has given us can be taken away from us. It is only by us turning away from this rock, getting off the rock and onto the sand, that the things that we build upon the sand do not stand. You know, when you go down to a beach and they build the sand houses on the beach, and some of them are so beautiful. And after a period of time, along comes the tide and washes away the houses we have built in the sand. When we lose faith, when we have not developed faith in this God consciousness or spirit consciousness that is within us, We have a fear of everything that is going on around us, a fear of everything that is going on in the world. And a lot of times we have a fear of the things that are going on within us. When we are grounded and rooted in this spiritual consciousness within us, what is there to fear? If we are committed and dedicated to the Spirit of God within us, to the faith that we say we have, what is there to fear? There is no greater power in all the world that is greater than the power of God or the I am within us. And when we stand on this rock of faith and trust in the power of Spirit within us, we can accomplish and build whatever it is we desire. There is nothing of the world, of man's world, that can stand in our way or keep us from manifesting and demonstrating that which we have within us. Nothing or no one. But you will not know these truths. You will not see these manifestations and demonstrations until you put them into practice. You can't sit and wait for something to happen. You have to use that spiritual knowledge and wisdom that you already have to make things happen. We are co-creators with the Spirit of God within us. And the thing that is so disappointing is to know and to see people not using the power of Spirit that they have within us. We have to get away, and I just want to share this with you, about standing on this rock and not being worried or concerned about what's going on in the outer world. When you look at little children, they have no concerns, no worries, no fears, no doubts. They're not concerned about what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear. And if it was left up to children, they would spend their whole life, as long as they are young, having fun, enjoying life. They're not concerned about how the mortgage is going to be paid. They're not concerned about whether there'll be enough food in the refrigerator. They're not concerned about any of these things because in their hearts and in their minds, they know that the parents are going to provide. And so as the speaker spoke last week, we must be like little children and get back to that state of consciousness, knowing that the Father or the God Spirit within us is going to and continue to provide for us. And I've always said to young folks, don't rush to grow up. Stay home as long as you can, because as long as you're home, you're well taken care of. It's only when you rush to grow up and you want to leave home and you want to be out there on your own that you're going to meet challenges and difficulties that you're not going to be able to handle. And I am one to stand here and say, oh, how I wished that I was able to stay home longer than I did. But once I learned that there was something within me that will continue to provide and take care of me as long as I stayed connected, as long as I believed, as long as I have faith and trust in this power within me, I was going to be all right. And I stand before you this day, a living witness to that trust and that faith and that belief. For I have built my house, this consciousness that I am, upon the rock that is within me. And it has not. The things of the world have not been able to tear me down. The things of the world have not been able to overrule me or to overrule the consciousness, the spiritual consciousness that I am. And this consciousness that I am, you are also. When God gave to one, he gave to all. And it is up to us to accept that which is already within us. Yes, we want to be in control. Yes, we want to have things our own way. Yes, we want to have say-so over everything in our lives. But when we embark upon this spiritual path, all of that goes out the front door, the back door, the windows, flush down the toilet and down the sink. It is now about surrendering to that God consciousness and that God spirit within us. If we want to have a prosperous, successful, and healthy life, then we have to surrender to the source that has made it possible, to the source that sustains and protects us. World can't do anything for you. Just look around at it. They're fighting over there in Congress about what they're going to pass and what they can't pass, and they can't agree on anything, and all that they can't agree on is affecting the lives of people. We are trying to live or wanting to live on what someone else is saying or doing instead of living on, instead of building our foundation on that rock of God consciousness within us that has no political agenda. Its only concern is what it must do to maintain and sustain that which it has brought into manifestation. What it will do to maintain its creation. And when we turn and step away from the source that is, we enter into the life of the world of quicksand, a world of doubt, a world of frustration, disappointment, hurts, not knowing what tomorrow will bring. And we ask, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Doesn't have to happen to you. It's the choice that you've made to look to the world for your good, to look to the world for your happiness, to look to the world for your peace, when it has always been right there within you? You're wasting time. Yeah, I was in meditation this morning. I think I did meditation 2 or 3 times a day. And it was shared with me. There are people that want to get rich overnight. They want everything to happen in an instant. The microwave effect. Put it in the microwave and 30 seconds is ready. We want to come and study metaphysics, and in a week's time, we want to be able to demonstrate all that is we think that is for our highest good. We want to be able to demonstrate and to manifest finances, home, jewelry, you name it, all of the material things that we desire, we think and feel that once we've studied a few days, once we've read a book, once we've listened to a lecture on prosperity and success, we should be able to go right out and demonstrate. Well, you can go out and demonstrate. It can be instantaneously, but you must have the consciousness. If you haven't built the consciousness, then you will not have the demonstration. There's nothing that we have to look to the world for. For the Spirit of God within us has already given it to us. It's like the child that is born into the world, comes into the world with a natural born ability. And if I don't mind, I'm going to touch bases right there with Miss K. Smith, looking right there at you, who said she never took a class on panty. Always been there within her. Always had it, never been taught from anyone out in the world of the world. It was just there within her. Gift from God. There are some folks that come into the world with these gifts and a talent. They don't want to use what God has given them. They want to go out into the world and let man teach them something, learn something of the world that might not bring them the peace, the prosperity, and success. But they think that if we learned it, or if they learned it of the world, it's going to be better for them than what God has already given them. And usually when you're having the world to teach you something, you got to pay for it. You got to spend the time and energy to learn it. God has already given it to you freely. Now all you have to do is to demonstrate and bring forth. Someone touched on something. I think it was Reverend Marks. I have to get these Reverend Pamela Marks this morning. Have to get the marks together, you know. Sometimes I get a little tongue twisted with it. She spoke, she read something about ideas. You know, when we have an idea, it is not our idea. It is that which has been given to us from Spirit. It is God's idea within us. And when we are given an idea, it is our commission to bring that idea into manifestation. And not to bring it out and pass it on to someone else for someone else to do it. It has been given to us for us to do. That's why you have so many successful people that have built industries and became multi-billionaires because the idea that was given to them, they used it and brought it into manifestation in and of their own accord and not passed it on to someone else. And when we do that and someone take our idea and become successful with it, the first thing we say is they stole my idea. You had it. It was given to you, but you didn't do anything with it. When God gives us something, he's giving it to us for us to do something with it. If it wasn't meant for you, he would have given it to someone else. No, I don't want to do that. Let me pass that on to somebody else. Because we're refusing to realize that these ideas doesn't come from within ourselves. They come from a higher source. And so we have to learn to operate on those things that are given to us. If we don't use that which is given to us, we don't grow. We don't mature. And we get to the point where we learn or develop this consciousness of not being able to trust what we hear within ourselves. It must be my mind talk, because I don't really think like that. You know, that can't be me. So I'm just going to dismiss this. But I might share it with somebody else, but I know that it's not for me. Well, it came from you. It came through you. How come it should not be for you? I don't want to do the work. Let me give it to somebody else to do it. I don't want to do the work. Well, you don't want God to bless you. You don't want God to give you anything, because what God gives you, you're not willing to take it and work with it. And then you go out and you try to build on the things of the world, reaching for something out in the world that really does not guarantee you peace of mind, stability, prosperity, or success, or doesn't guarantee perfect health. Everything that God or the Spirit within us gives us is for our highest good and is to be used for the highest good and the upliftment of others. We have become that chosen vessel through which the Spirit is using us, speaking in us and through us and out into the world. You can't ever, or you should never look in the world and say, well, God is not using me. I am not worthy of the Spirit using in me. I don't believe that the Spirit is in me. That is when you're building your house upon the sand. You have no faith, you have no trust, you have no belief. And soon all the things, all the chaos, confusion, conflicts of the world will come at you, crowd in on you, and rob you of your peace, your strength, your health, and your everything. And as the scripture stated, when the rains and the flood came and beat upon that house and it fell, great was the fall. It was the fall in consciousness, not the fall of the physical house upon the ground, but the fall in consciousness. Sometimes we can fall so far down in the darkness of the abyss, we cannot behold the light. And we start to think that there is no way out. Build your house upon the rock. Recognize that the consciousness within you is the consciousness of spirit that when you build, when you are grounded and rooted in this consciousness, nothing can uproot you. Nothing, not all the powers of the world put together cannot uproot you. There's an old saying, old song, not just the only thing that I can recall is when you come up against challenges in that spiritual state of consciousness, look it directly in the face and say these words: your arms are too short to box with God. Your arms are too short to box with God. And every seemingly fight that you're in will not be a 15 rounder. It will not be a 12 rounder. It will be a 1 round fight with a TKO in your favor. God bless you and namaste.